Hello and welcome to today's webinar hosted by Aprimo and Microsoft. And today's discussion will be discussing artificial intelligence and how that can transform your marketing. There's a lot of discussions out there today around what AI is, how it can be beneficial, and we wanted to bring some of the truth through a lot of the hype which is flying around out there. So with that, would like to introduce our speakers today. My name is Ed Brialt, Head of Marketing for Aprimo, and I have two very special guests who I'll let introduce themselves. And first, I'll go to Anjali Yakandi.
Hi, Ed. Thanks so much for having me. I lead our product marketing function here at Aprimo, and really excited to talk about AI and separating kind of the hype from reality and different ways in which marketing groups can use AI to really expand on their marketing practices.
Awesome. Thank you, Anjali. And also Shish from Microsoft. Shish, did you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Ed. And welcome, everyone. I'm Shish. I'm part of the retail team within Microsoft, and I focus on business strategy and work with retail and consumer goods companies around the world, focused on data and AI.
Excellent. And to the audience, we really like to keep these interactive. So there is a chat panel. At any point in time, if you do have a question, please drop it there. I'll be looking at those questions and aggregating them, and then at the end, we will finish. And with that, I'll hand the baton off to Shish to take it away and start to talk about some of the content today.
Thank you. And I'd like to start with what's going on with the retail industry. There's a lot of disruption going on in the industry, and it's not really a battle between online and brick and mortar. It's really the reality is there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of changes that's going on that is causing this change, and many retailers today really regard online and brick and mortar as two separate channels. But the connected customer really dispels that notion. Customers today are going through these channels. The shopping journey is transformed. It moves from channel to channel. And the reality, again, is that retailers have to work with the new reality and work in a more omni-channel way, engage in ways that they didn't in the past. The reality of retail today is truly phygital. Most customers that shop in the store will be working or will be buying things in store, will be buying online, will be buying things in the store, having it delivered at home, and so on. And the engagement with the customers changed as well through mobile devices and other channels that they work with. The parallel advancement that has happened in the retail landscape is really that in addition to the disruption that is happening out there and the need for retailers to adjust to the new reality, is the fact that there is a large volume of data available today, more than it was available many years ago. Data that was created, I would say, in the last 2 years is more than what was created in the entire history of the human race. And there is more data being created. This really poses a benefit, an advantage that retailers can use, that marketers can use to compete better, to be able to survive in the face of this disruption that is going on. The data here, the explosion that I'm talking about really is driven by various things. One of them, of course, is social media. Social media is generating a lot of data. Many retailers are in the past considered this to be a lot of noise, but today they're using this to their advantage. They're getting a lot of insights from that data. They're getting a sense of what topics are trending. They're correlating that to what products are selling. What kind of categories are people interested in different places, and how does that relate to trending topics? In addition to that, there's also open data initiatives from around the world. So today, the information about weather and demographics and economic indicators is easily and freely available. So many of the retailers and marketers that I work with are combining this data to get a better understanding of how weather patterns impact what people want to buy, how the fluctuations in the economy impacts the brand affinity that people have, the size of their shopping basket, and so on. The demographics of people in a specific area, how does that really define what products and brands people would go for? With this information available, the insights available to retailers and marketers is vastly improved. And as a result, a lot of retailers are using this information in interesting ways. Yet another aspect that is impacting this data explosion is IoT. In the past, retailers and marketers did not have access to a lot of information that was happening in the physical world. Like, for example, the location information of people, or where in the store are they at the moment? How long do they dwell in front of a shelf that gives them an indication of what products they like, which area in the store do they frequent. All of this information is now available because of sensors, because of mobile devices. And this data, again, is really interesting, useful data for retailers and marketers that can actually use that information, be able to use it for real-time engagement with customers as well. And this is, again, the data combined with the technology capabilities, AI in particular, really empowers retailers to do a lot more, marketers to do a lot more. Artificial intelligence really enables systems to be able to use historic data. Like, for example, look at all the past sales data. When combined with weather data, when combined with economic indicators, they're able to figure out what is the correlation between weather patterns, economy, and demographics, events that are going on. That whole combination, how does it affect specific products, product sales or category sales? AI systems are able to use that historic data as training data and be able to better predict how these combinations of things will impact sales at any particular time, enabling, again, marketers to make better decisions, to be able to select what options or actions they should take based on various events that are going on. And that's, again, a huge advantage that marketers and retailers are looking at. The combination, data becoming the fuel for the AI systems. The capabilities of AI have been around for years. What has really happened is the availability, the explosion of data has provided the fuel to make AI far more accurate. This picture here really shows what marketers and retailers used to do in the past, where they would use the proprietary data they have, train the models, and be able to forecast what people want, what products should they sell, who should they target in a marketing campaign, and so on. But with the proprietary data, the accuracy of those models were suspect they were not very good. And as a result, the ROI on these models weren't great. What's changed really is the fact that all of this external data, things like IoT and open data initiatives and social data, that is making these models far more accurate. Marketers are enriching existing models, existing data, the proprietary data, with the public and purchase data, improving the accuracy of the models, and as a result, driving campaigns that are delivering better ROI, being able to engage with customers in a more relevant manner, being able to create segmentations that are far more accurate. Sorry. The slide here really shows, in a nutshell, our partnership with Aprimo, where Microsoft really provides all of the capabilities, the ability for retailers to ingest the data from multiple sources, store the data, build the machine learning models that are needed. And then Aprimo really works on our platform, uses the AI models, connects to all the data capabilities, and also we provide all of the AI capabilities that are pre-built, things like customer lifetime value, media mix marketing, customer segmentation, personalization, ad targeting, and so on. From an AI perspective, again, what Microsoft really is working on is enabling retailers and marketers to be able to use our AI capabilities very easily, depending on what the skill levels are. So there is AI services that are available with a lot of pre-built models and chatbot capabilities and so on. In addition to that, there's also the infrastructure needed for managing all the data and running deep learning models, the tools for building anything if you needed to build it. And that's pretty much what companies and partners like Aprimo really do. Take these capabilities and enhance what they have and customize what they have by building personalized chatbot services if they need it, adding AI capabilities and models if they need it, and so on, building up again on top of this infrastructure. In addition to this, we also have cognitive services, which is the ability to build systems that work with computer vision, with speech, language understanding, search capabilities. So all of these capabilities enable and empower transforming the customer journey, enabling engaging with customers in a more relevant manner. And some of those capabilities that AI and cognitive capabilities enable that we've seen working with customers is, one is using AI for generating content that is relevant and personal, doing ad targeting, lead scoring, predictive analytics, also retargeting and dynamic pricing, personalization. We've also worked with several customers, built chatbot-based engagement. And in addition to that, there's a lot of marketing automation capabilities we've worked with customers on. So one of the examples that I wanted to go into really quickly is a home improvement retailer and the process they went through to transform the customer journey. The challenge that they were looking at here was when customers came in to redesign their kitchens, the challenge that they had was they could not quite articulate the design that they were looking for. As a result, the store associate that worked with them would show them a catalog with ideas. This was a couple of hundred pictures of kitchen designs they could choose from. And typically, customers would get overwhelmed with the choices, and the customer journey would prolong, and in a lot of cases, it wouldn't go to purchase. What the retailer was really seeking for is a means by which they could better engage with the customer with more relevant suggestions and be able to shorten that customer journey. When they studied a typical customer journey, they found that most customers would look at Pinterest for inspiration. They would pin any ideas for kitchens. And at the end of this, they would have maybe 100 or so pictures of kitchen ideas that they liked. They were still overwhelmed. As a result, what the retailer really did is work with us on an AI application that would connect to the customer's Pinterest board extract all the images from their Pinterest board, and then using AI, analyze the features in those images. It would extract specific things like what is the color preference that they have, what is the kind of material they like, what style do they like, what kind of lighting do they like, and so on. Based on this information, it would create a profile and try to match it, like what you see here, match it with one of the catalog pictures. The first one, for example, it says it's got an 83% fit and so on. Once it does that, it also looks at the inventory of the retailer and tries to pick the tiles, try to pick the cabinets, the appliances, the lighting that closely matches the selections they made in the Pinterest images. So what it's really doing is it's analyzing those images, using AI to analyze the images, extract the features from those images, match them to the inventory that the retailer's got, and then try to narrow down what is the perfect fit, what color preferences they have, what styles do they like, and so on. This is an example where a lot of retailers that we work with are using other social media assets as well. Like, for example, connect to the customer's music preferences, movie preferences, YouTube videos, Instagram, Pinterest, to be able to understand, based on your music preferences, what's your personality, based on your movie choices, combined with music. Can we build the persona that we think you are, put you into a specific micro segmentation, and be able to target specific services and products that we believe are more relevant for you based on what we know about you. And that's one of those areas that a lot of retailers that we're working with are using to better understand customers, to make them more relevant for them, and so on. In this case, the retailer actually went one step further to reduce the customer journey. Once they knew what the customer was looking for, they created a holographic image. And what you're looking at here is actually a holographic image of the kitchen. And the customer could pretty much walk around the holographic image, be able to use gestures and personalize this kitchen image even more. For example, change the tiles and so on. And this got them even closer to purchase. And this was, again, another example of how they use technology and AI to transform the customer journey. In addition to that, there's a couple of other capabilities that we are working on that enable visual shopping and conversational shopping and so on. The Bing visual search is a good example of this, where we could look at images and enable customers to be able to shop the look, be able to quickly find what they're looking for and shop from images directly, images as well as videos directly. The example that that's coming up right now is one of those examples that you can actually run directly from Bing search, where if you're looking for tools, you don't know what it's called, just with the image, it will try to identify what it is, be able to find similar images, and you can shop directly from that image. A lot of DIY home improvement retailers that we work with, they tell us people come in with this part and they don't know what exactly it's called. And they're able to, with the camera, be able to identify what it is, be able to identify whether they have any in inventory, and so on. Conversational commerce is another aspect, and what you're seeing here is a chatbot that we built for Macy's, an area that we're seeing an increased interest in, where it's really combinations of humans and chatbots that a lot of retail marketers are looking at. Can they better engage with customers? Can they engage with customers in a more relevant manner, improve the experience by providing responses that are much faster as a result? And one last thing here is an area that a lot of retailers are looking at. How do they better engage with customers using AI? And fashion retailers, for example, are creating sites with content, and this could be images, videos, blog content, and so on, that really help engage with the customer. At the same time, they're using AI capabilities to make all of this content shoppable content. So when there's images in there, it will identify products in the images. When you click on those products, you can shop them directly. If it's videos, the same thing. And with blog content, they're using text analytics capabilities to identify products in the content and hyperlink them to directly enable shopping. So it's really enabling a new commerce capability, engaging the customer with relevant content like blogs and reviews and so on. And the same thing works with photography, but there's a photography based site that could be around camera reviews and photography techniques, but all that content is shoppable content. We're working with groceries for creating similar things for recipes, where the site could be a recipe site. And if customers actually like what they see, they can shop the ingredients of that recipe with a single click. So it really converts everything to shoppable links. So with this, I'm going to transition over to Anjali from Aprimo, and she's going to go into the specifics of solutions for marketers.
Thanks so much. Yeah, no, super interesting content. And I think you hit on a really critical issue for many marketers who are on the phone today. It's really that customer experience is critical. How we deliver that personal, relevant experience that's tailored to the customer at their moment of the customer journey, their exact moment of need, on the exact channel that they need. And I think that's something that we see at Aprimo too. Delivering great customer experience is marketers' top priority today. So how you deliver that experience to the right customer at the right moment on the right channel. And I think we had a lot of great examples of how we can use AI, whether it's a chatbot, it's this VR hologram-like experience, or it's even something like a content-driven website. But at Aprimo, we like to think about AI in two ways. It's how do you use AI to deliver a great experience, which we heard a lot of examples on, but how do we also use AI for the behind-the-scenes work that it takes to deliver an experience? So much like a concert, right? The experience is the back half of all the work. It's the culmination of all of the work that you've put in, the back end of creating that song, of producing it, of actually going and putting out putting out the music. It's not a record anymore, but I guess you're streaming it now. And kind of the concert is that culmination. Much like that, we at Aprimo believe delivering the experience is the culmination, and it takes a lot of behind the scenes work to get there. And there's really a lot of opportunity to start to use AI and intelligence, much in that same way that we use to deliver a customer experience. We can really use that AI on that behind the scenes work. And to really do that, it enables us to deliver experiences at scale. So how do we deliver customer experiences on all these channels with all these new innovative things like the VR holograms that you saw from Sheesh? How can you do that? Really, we can do that by automating some of our back-end processes so we can get to market faster. So at Aprimo, we kind of call it the 3 E's of AI. You can really use AI in 3 ways. I'll start with experience because we really heard Sheesh talk about that, how we can use AI and intelligence to drive better, more relevant customer experiences. So we've talked about that, so let's focus on the other 2 E's. The first is enrichment. So how can we use AI to enrich content, enrich experiences, and enrich campaigns? So we not only save money, but we actually get to market faster. And then the second E, execution. So how can we use AI to actually improve marketing processes so we can speed up our time? For example, we have customers who it used to take 12 weeks for them to get a new product launch. How can we use AI for it to go faster and so they can execute on that new product launch in a third of the time? So let's start with enrichment. So how can we use intelligence to enrich content? There's a lot of new technology out there today, specifically around things like auto tagging. So how can we use AI to automatically recognize subject matter of a content? So for example, we have an image here, a beautiful sky with the ocean. How can we actually use AI to cut out some of the manual work so we can actually automatically populate and automatically understand the subject matter of this content? So we can start to understand it and automatically generate descriptions of that content. I don't have to enter it in manually, and automatically generate content tags, which can help better promote findability when I'm trying to look for this later on. We can also do more than just descriptive auto tagging though. We can also actually recognize the characters on a screen. So for example, we can actually use AI to cut out some of the manual work that we would have to do. So if we have text already on the screen, we can automatically, using AI, recognize that text and start to generate descriptions and tags for that content. So we can use AI to cut out that manual work. We don't have to put any manual work into thinking, what is this about? It's actually automatically scraping the text from this image and ingesting it and telling us everything that it's saying on the screen. We can also do this with things like video. So if you think about video, AI can help us automatically transcribe speech in a video into text. So we can actually, instead of having to pan through, say you have a 30, 40-minute long video, we can actually use AI to automatically ingest and transcribe all of the text content, all of the spoken content from an image. And what we could do is we can automatically transcribe that. We can assign timestamps to it so we know exactly when certain things were said. And we can automatically generate content tags so that we can, again, when we're looking for the video, we can make it easier to find it in the future. And if we know if this is a very long video, we're looking for just a specific clip or specific thing that was said, we can actually go in there and easily find it because AI has already timestamped that content as well. So again, saving us time, making it easier to find those content or those experiences so it's easier for us to deliver it on different channels. We can also do things like sentiment analysis. So it's not just that we're looking at content and kind of coming up with generic descriptions of it, but we can actually automatically, using AI, start to detect emotion and sentiments. What this is it not just gives us a description, but it gives us a more rich description. So if you look at this woman, for example, it's not just that she's a woman who's outside wearing a hat. What we know is that she's smiling. We know she's happy. We can use AI to start to automatically detect sentiment in our content. And that, again, makes it easier for us to reuse that content because we're just getting better and more descriptive sentiment analysis and sentiment tags. So it helps us understand not just what the content is about, but also the emotional context of that piece of content. So there's so much that AI can do to help us enrich tags, but it can't do everything. I think, when I think about AI, it's really good at coming up with a detailed description of exactly what we're seeing. So if I think about this picture, it could give us really detailed descriptions around the flowers and that it's in full bloom and the colors and all of the different elements of this. But what AI, we need to keep working with AI is that it doesn't always give us the full picture. And that's not a limitation of any AI, it's just the limitation of machine today. And today what we see is that, to get the full picture, not just that these flowers are their colors or how beautiful they are, that they're in full bloom, the full context actually from a human is that this takes place, this picture in Belgium. There's a beautiful bridge in the background. It's probably springtime. There's a lot of other things that we can get that don't necessarily always come through with AI. So when we think about the AI hype versus reality, AI is really supplemental to how we think about enriching content. It's not going to 100% replace our own human thinking, but it actually gives us an 80% head start. And then as humans, we can add our own thinking and our own knowledge and our own context onto that. And that human context is really important of what we need to add and layer onto AI. So let's talk about how we can use AI for the second E around execution. This is how we can use AI to help improve our marketing processes so we can get to market faster. So when I think about marketing processes, again, it's all that behind the scenes work that takes place before we actually get an experience into market. So what's that behind the scenes work? For most of us, we start with ideation. So how do you actually ideate what your new idea is going to be? It's that creative process. So if I think about the music example, it's really how do we get together and start to kind of jam together to figure out what are the notes we want and coming up with song lyrics. It's that creative process that happens around ideation. Then we typically have back-end processes around planning and budgeting. So we actually put it into our marketing calendar and start to think about how does it fit into our budget. Then once we have it planned and have it all budgeted out, we actually create an experience. So thinking about that hologram experience, there was probably a lot of ideation going on. So creative people, the store retail team, all thinking about what is the exact problem. They planned it out and assigned budget to it, and then someone actually had to go there and create it. There's probably a lot of moving parts, both in the marketing team, but how are they going to work with the in-store retail team, the e-commerce team, etc. They all have to work together to create this experience. As they do that, there's a lot of collaboration that happens. So how are these different groups collaborating, approving, reviewing? How are they working together? Because there's, especially in that example, you think there's a lot of interdependency between the marketing people and the developers and the in-store people. It's that collaboration process. We can also use intelligence to help distribute out those experiences to different constituents. So say the retail example, you start in one store. How can you then distribute out the content and all the necessary pieces so that the other stores could actually use the same experience? And lastly, analysis. So what worked and what didn't? Did customers actually engage with this kind of experience? And what was some of the data behind it? So how can we use intelligence throughout all of these behind the scenes processes? I think intelligence can really start at the point of ideation. So we can use things in data points and use those data points, aggregate them to actually help surface new ideas. So I think we heard Sheesh talk a lot about this idea that AI is good because it helps bring together internal and external data. That's really the secret sauce. So if we think about ideation, we can actually do the same thing and to help us spur creative thinking. We can use past performance data of our past experiences, our past campaigns to help us surface new ideas. So what were really strong characteristics? What were defining characteristics? What were successful campaigns like? We can actually aggregate those to help us surface certain patterns. So we can find if successful content, successful campaigns, or successful experiences all had specific commonalities. And AI can help us surface those patterns. We can also use AI to do other things, not just our own internal past performance, but use AI to help us do things like mine competitive insights. So we know what's working and what's being successful with some of our competitors. We can also use it to mine customer behavior, both from our own data, but also from external data. So we understand and can surface patterns that are happening even outside to help us surface new ideas and patterns for what's working in the market and what isn't. So we can really start with AI and ideation, but it can even help us with things like budgeting and planning. I know we probably don't think the planning and budgeting process is really all that glorious. It's probably, I know for me as a marketer, not my most favorite part. But what we can do is we can actually use AI to help us in the budgeting and planning process as well. Today, for most marketers, we're just allocating budget out based on what we perceive as the need, or maybe based on some basic customer data. But what we can actually use is when we think about the budgeting and planning process, we can start to use AI to help us make better planning and budgeting decisions. So we can use past ROI and performance to help us fuel strategic planning. So we can do things like use AI to help us project ROI based on things like the past performance and projected performance and external third-party data. We can then use that AI to help make recommendations about how we can allocate budget. And then as we do, we can start to, as we keep doing this, we can start to find patterns. And those patterns can help us get better every year, every quarter, every month, however you're thinking about your budgeting and planning process, help us better allocate budget and project ROI. This is, for a lot of marketers, really critical because we're not always thinking about ROI. We're thinking about eyeballs to our experience or eyeballs to content. But as marketing leaders, many of us have to report into ROI to our C-level executives. So ROI calculation is going to be really critical, and how we can start to project that is going to be a really critical function of AI. We can also start to use AI to help us do better when it comes to creating content and collaborating with each other. So when it comes to creating content, we can actually use AI to help us better route tasks and recommend actions. So we can actually use AI to think about, based on what we know of projected ROI, we can start to route tasks accordingly. We can start to prioritize specific tasks because we know that it's both urgent and highly important. We can use AI to help us suggest specific actions and how do we route specific tasks. So AI can be very, very helpful in that creation process as well. And it can also help us with how we collaborate. So we can use AI to not only know, which tasks should be prioritized, but it can also help us automatically recommend which resources which resources should be working on what types of activities. So it can automatically know if somebody's too busy or overloaded with work. There's all these other people who have the similar skill sets who do have bandwidth. So we can start to use AI to help us collaborate better and really balance workload across our teams. And lastly, when we think about how do we share that experience, that content out with other marketers, maybe a different region, maybe a different marketing group, maybe an e-commerce group, how can we actually distribute that out to our other groups so they can reuse that experience as well? So we can actually use AI to help us with that, because AI can actually take in a lot of different data points, like what is the content about, how is it performed, what's its ROI, what's its projected ROI on different channels or for different markets. And it can actually start to recommend the right content for the right group to deliver to the right customer at the right time. So it's almost kind of like Netflix, but in an internal experience. So kind of how Netflix kind of gives you shows based on a lot of different data points that you may like, we can actually use AI to help us internally start to peel through all the content that we're creating and make sure we're getting the right content out in the right experience. So what we're seeing, though, is that when it comes to processes, these intelligent processes are similarly going to supplement but not replace us. It's not going to be like Revenge of the Robots, but really it's going to be all about how do we supplement our existing processes. We still have to layer on our own empathy and emotion, creativity, common sense, and gut reactions. But AI helps us get there faster. It takes out the manual work, and it helps to start give us recommendations of what might work better. So we still have to layer on that human element, but really AI is going to supplement and help us get to market faster. So really what we see is that AI helps enrich and execute experiences for that behind the scenes work. So really complementing the story we heard from Sheesh around how AI can help deliver experiences, but AI is going to supplement marketers, not replace. So with that, we'll open up the floor for any questions. I know we've gotten a few come in already, so I'll pass it over to Ed.
Thanks, Anjali. Yes, so some really great questions came in. We just have time for a few here. The first one, which I think is really good. Well, first of all, that really demystified a lot of, I guess, the perceptions of what AI is, and that's what this first question is about. There's a lot of terms floating around out there, AI, machine learning, deep learning. So Shish, I don't know if you want to comment on that, but how do you go through those terms, and what is AI, and what are some of those adjacent intelligence and learning abilities that surround it?
Yep, sure. And this is a question that I actually get very often, because the terms are used interchangeably. A lot of times, people will use AI or machine learning or deep learning, and in pretty much any context. And a lot of times, the term AI is misused as well. There's a lot of hype around it at the same time. At a high level, though, without going too deep into the specifics of what it is, I kind of look at AI as the umbrella term. So anything to do with systems having intelligence, it is under that AI umbrella. And specifically under AI, you would have the machine learning capabilities, typically using all of the historical data, the past data, to be able to train a system, to be able to predict what's going to happen based on past behaviors. Those would be machine learning systems. And the more complex deep learning systems would be the ones that have the ability to learn from events as they happen. So they're more self-learning systems. So this, again, is a very high-level, simplistic way of looking at it. And I would say AI, umbrella term, machine learning, using all the past data and then repeating what happened in the past based on the combinations of things, because you're looking at complex interactions between things like weather and economy and trending topics and events and how that affects sales, and any combination of those, what should be the effect in sales and how do you build systems. Machine learning systems are great for that. And then AI is really self-learning, where they will deep learning would also be used for things like image recognition, voice, speech analysis, all of those as well.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a great way to think about it and very clear. So Anjali, this next question came in. What AI is Aprimo using, and what's maybe on the roadmap as well?
Yeah, so I think what you'll see in Aprimo today and on our near-term roadmap are a lot of the things you saw around enrichment. So things like auto tagging, speech to text, optical character recognition, some of the basic sentiment analysis, focal point cropping, so we can automatically detect the focal point of an image and crop it accordingly. And some of the basic things around the process. So things like how do we recommend resources based on things like availability and skill set, et cetera. What you'll see on our roadmap is the more advanced AI. So the more advanced AI that we are working towards are things like how do we actually prioritize tasks? How do we think about ROI and projected ROI? And how do we ingest in that external third-party data to really have strong AI recommendations when it comes to our process? So definitely, I think most of what you saw was either either going live very soon or in the product right now, or it's kind of on our long-term roadmap in terms of where we want to go with AI in terms of really being that kind of intelligent assistant who's helping you make better decisions about how you work day to day.
Excellent. Very good. Very exciting. It's good to see that, really taking some of the hype and some really practical use cases, things that we can really latch on to as consumers in a day-to-day fashion, and then moving backwards from that experience. That experience didn't just happen. There was a lot of work, technology, vision, preparedness in order to deliver on that experience. And that's where we're going to go next. The commercial here is for our next. We're going to keep the learning going. We're going to keep the thought leadership going. Our next webinar is going to be October 10th, and it will be around a fully baked content experience. And we'll be looking at everything from strategy to technology to process to mindset. And we will be joined by Robert Rose. If you don't know Robert, or if you weren't at Content Marketing World 2 weeks ago, he's the founder and chief strategy officer at the Content Advisory. He's written lots of books. Definitely check him out. A very strong thought leader on the topics of experience and content. We'll also be joined by Lisa Sharapata. She owns the full brand experience for Aprimo. So we're seeing lots of owners of experience in organizations now, and want to bring her to the conversation to really talk about what it means to own a complete experience. And with that, I want to thank everybody very much, and please register for the next webinar. And Sheesh, Anjali, they both have social handles or can be contacted. Definitely look for them out there on LinkedIn or Twitter. And I want to thank you both for being here today.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.